welcome to Sit Down with the Superintendent, presented by GCHS TV. Join us as we welcome Greenup County Superintendent Tracy Moracey to our roundtable discussion hosted by GCHS students.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Sit Down with the Superintendent. I'm Aaron Barker.
And I'm Carolyn Atkins.
And with us today is Superintendent Moracey. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you for asking.
Do you have any plans for spring break?
I do not have any plans as of yet. My husband is a teacher in another district, and so his spring break is actually next week.
Oh, okay.
And then the kids and I have spring break the following week, so we might do something over the weekend. This weekend we're actually going to do a little something, but
That
nothing
sounds like
major.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to visit some family because we're all vaccinated now, so we can visit. So that's about it.
So I've seen on Twitter a new logo floating around. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we've decided to upgrade our logo, and our logo was very similar to something that Xavier had, and so we've kind of tried to change it up a little bit and put a new spin on it. And we have a very famous artist, maybe not known to us because artists aren't always super famous in pop culture. However, his name is Stephen Tutt, and he does logos and designs for such things as Phantom Menace in Star Wars. He did the Harry Potter posters. And we just happened to have a person who works with us who had some connections, and he donated his time and put this together for us. And I think he looks very fast, so I'm kind of excited about him.
Do you think that this new logo is better than the last one?
I actually like it better. I do. So
I do too.
I think he's sharp and he looks a little more fierce.
It looks very modern.
Yes.
Have you made any progress on the district's new hashtag?
Yes, we have made some progress on the district hashtag. Student council actually got together and came up with our final version. So we have a hashtag GC All for One and a hashtag GC One for All. Just because you don't want to have too long of a hashtag kind of gets difficult. And you really do have to search those and make sure that somebody else doesn't already have them or have a meaning for them. So that has really turned out well, and I'm excited about it. I got a message, I sent out the announcement today to the other teachers and all throughout the district as to the new logos and then the new hashtag. And I immediately got a response from a teacher who had been in our district for about 20 years, and she said that it was a nice homage to a former superintendent and principal, Mr. John Yance. I don't know if anybody has parents maybe that had Mr. Yance as a principal or a superintendent, but that was actually one of his mottos, and he did just pass back in January. So this is a nice homage to him as well, because this was his motto. And we have a lot of rebuilding, a lot of things to do for our district coming back out of this pandemic. We're going to do it all together, and we're going to make decisions that helps everyone. So I think it works well.
Sounds great to me.
Okay. I'm glad you agree.
I do. I really do.
Speaking of coming back out of the pandemic, do you think that as of right now the district will continue with the 5-day week?
We have every intention to continue with 5 days a week. I think everyone's happy to be on a schedule and a routine. I know it gets a little tiring by Thursday, waking up, but you'll get used to it. It'll get more doable. It will. So we're really happy with how the social distancing has went, how school has. The kids have handled themselves very well. You guys have done a nice job. You totally understand what we're having to do, which I really appreciate. And we have not had a lot of resistance. So things seem to be going well, and we're going to keep on going.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, sounds good.
Do you think the students returning and coming back to 5 days of school is a positive?
Yes. I think the routine, the structure, teachers are not having to teach the same thing twice. You know, with the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, one group would be catching up with another group, then we would have a snow day or a flood, and it would turn everything upside down. So 5 days a week, absolutely, best way to go.
Giving kids some structure and just letting them all learn the same thing at one time so it's not as repetitive as it used to be.
Absolutely, and it feels more meaningful. You can start a project, and you can actually finish the project. And that's very difficult to do when you're only getting to come in for 2 days a week.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
If our numbers continue to go down, will we be able to go back to how lunch was previously before COVID?
We are seeing numbers go down. Unfortunately, we are also seeing numbers increase in certain areas around us. So a lot of our neighboring states are starting to kind of rise a little bit, so we're going to have to be very cautious. Make sure we're making good choices. So for those of you out there, make really good choices about spring break when you go out. You know, try to be cautious and know that when you come back to school, you're coming back to your friends who are trying to go to school 5 days, have elderly parents or grandparents with them, and maybe they're trying to do a sport. So just kind of be conscientious of that, because we don't want to go back up from where we had started. As far as getting to do anything different, that all depends on what the state allows us to do. Some of these rules that we have are truly statewide and sometimes nationwide, and so we're going to stick with whatever they offer us.
Just real quick, I wanted to say that if anybody out there watching has any questions, there's a link at the top of the screen that you can send questions into, and we will be happy to answer them. With that being said, do you think that with lunch that we'll eventually get to go back through the lunch line, or is that going to be more of a decision on down the road?
It's more of a decision on down the road, and honestly, we even just toured Fleming County schools just this past week and looked at how their lunch lines are laid out for future reference. We're going to try to gear some of our layout to put down some of the lines whenever we do get to go to that back to that routine, so that the lines will move a little smoother. You won't be in line quite as long. It'll be more like a college campus where you come into a student center to get your food. So we're going to look at some things to shorten those lines when you do get to turns.
All right.
So we do have a plan on you getting there. Again, we have to wait for the big bad COVID to go away to be able to do that.
And do you think that we will get to make a return to field trips sometime soon?
Field trips are actually on the horizon. You just have to be really conscientious about how you get on the bus, how crowded the buses are. They would become very expensive because you have to give so much spacing in between the seats. So you're going to have to be really cautious about what kind of field trip you take. But we do already have sports teams traveling and doing some things. The overnight field trips, not so much. But, and no out of town, you know, heading down south or anything. But
So with the field trips, would there be like a limit on the kids allowed to go? Or?
Depends on what you're doing. But we're going to keep most of our field trips very limited. As much as we can do on campus, that's where we're going. So right now it's still a no, but I can see that letting up as we get closer to the end of the year.
So will the other schools have a field day this year, or even this one?
I've been asked about a field day, and I think the elementary schools are going to try to do one at each individual school, so it'll almost be a very organized PE class, if that makes sense. So I do know that some of the schools are doing something like that. I'm not really for sure. The middle schools haven't really talked to me about it. So I think it's really depending on what a principal wants to take on.
Okay, and back to the field trips just for a real quick second.
Sure.
Will they be returning this year, or would it be more to the start of next year?
It'll be more towards the start of next year.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say hello to Scarlett Shoemaker for tuning in.
Oh no. Does she have a question?
No, she said that we were doing an excellent job.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much.
I really thought maybe she would have a question for me. She usually does.
So when do you think we could stop using one-way hallways?
One-way hallways. I do not know. But I do have, speaking of Scarlett Shoemaker, we designed this earlier. I have a fortune teller. So would you like to pick a number?
Okay, I like 4.
This is on one-way hallways. We're going to see. So 1, 2, 3, 4. What color you want?
Gold.
Gold. Let's see what gold says. KDE gets to tell us that. It really does say that. So when the Kentucky Department of Education tells us we can stop doing one-way hallways, we will stop it. See, I'm prepared. I got this. Anything else you want to throw at me? I'm good.
Do you think that, I know that starting like at the end of last year, we all switched over to computers pretty abruptly, but as this year continues, we've stuck with that. Do you see us going back to a paper pencil style classroom, or more staying towards the computers?
I can see us definitely staying more towards a computer. There is a time and a place. However, I think that most of you kind of like being able to have access to your classwork wherever you are, and you're not toting around papers that you're losing and can't find.
It's a lighter load in your backpack.
Yeah,
for
definitely, definitely. So I don't see us going completely away from it, and I'm actually quite proud of our teachers and what they've been able to pull off. It was a huge learning curve for some, and we don't want them to go backwards. So, and it's a life skill. When you go to work, you're going to be on a computer. So
And even college.
even college, absolutely, you will be on a computer. So yes, I think it prepares you better. So.
There are some schools who are doing the ACT on computers. Is there a chance we will take them on computers or continue to do paper and pencil?
Believe it or not, we did do some of that just a couple of weeks ago. So we had some students who chose to take their ACT on computer. So we had a couple of labs set up where students did try that out. So that did happen in our school this year.
Do you think it was successful with the kids who took it?
I will find out when we get results.
Okay.
I can't give you any answers just yet, but we did not have major problems. I can tell you that.
Well, that's good. Will graduation be recorded this year, or will it be like one at a time, like last year?
I finally don't have to use this.
Okay.
I know this answer. Okay, so it is going to be at the high school football field.
Okay.
It will be on May 28th. I'm sure that we will do a recording of some sort because, you know, I know you guys are going to want to jump in there, right? So there'll be recording of it to be made, but we're going to have it outside so that there's more room for social distancing and more people can attend. So right now we're looking at how to move around stages, what kind of things we would need to do that, but that's the plan, is to have it outside. We've got a backup plan to move it back a day if it rains.
And are you looking at like a capacity limit outside, or like people bring chairs and watch that way?
You would use the stands as far as your seating, unless of course wheelchair access and things like that we're thinking about. But we would do a portable stage and then have your chairs out on the field. So basically the access right now is at around 60%. So we would just have to go with that. So it depends on what they change by the time we get ready for graduation, because that kind of keeps going up. They keep opening access each time a little bit more. So.
All right. And with sports, do you think that there's still going to be a sales limit on the tickets like next year?
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
How many?
2.
2, 1. Doesn't want to take a lot of time with this.
Black.
Black. Let's see what black says. We do not know that. We don't know.
All right.
So we don't know. Really, I can see it being just as the same answer about masks, about anything. It really depends on how everything progresses over summer. And hopefully, yes, we can get back to normal and open everything up. Because honestly, it was financially difficult for our sports teams. Not just the families who did not want to, have to watch from home and wanted to get in there and see. I mean, just like tonight, I'm traveling to see one of our cousins playing a basketball game, and it's her senior night, and it's very limited tickets. So we had to wait today to find out if we could even get in to see it. So I understand what families go through trying to figure out if they can go to something. So we're hoping that will open up. We've been pretty blessed because our basketball arena, our football stadium has a lot of seating, so that's kind of kept us from having to limit as much as some places. Those of you guys that have traveled for sports, you might go some places where you're only allowed 2 tickets. And so we were able to allow 4 and 6 because of our size. So, but financially, it is a bit of a burden on the sports programs because they can't sell as many tickets also. So.
All right. With the masks, do you think that when it comes to the schools, masks will be like not mandated when it comes to everybody in the building being vaccinated, or do you think it'll become to a point where it's more of an option and a choice whether you have or have not had the vaccine to wear it?
I think it's going to depend on state mandates. That'll be a
Okay.
big part of it. I know some states are going away from them. Some states are still keeping theirs. So we'll probably go with more of what the governor says on something like that. As of right now, I do not see them being gone this year.
Okay.
Fall, possibly, if we're in a good place. I could see it being better, but this year I do not for the rest of the year. So
All right.
stock up on your spring designs is what I'm saying, okay?
Okay. What's the deal with the new House Bill 563?
Okay, where should I start? House Bill 563 actually has a twofold issue. One, it opens up the borders between all schools. So we have some limited contracts with area schools, not all schools, we just have them with a couple of schools. Most schools, we're wide open. you can go and come as you please. So it's really not going to be that big of a difference on that aspect for us. The part that concerns me is that it actually provides money to students who want to attend a private school. And so my personal belief is, let's fund textbooks, computers, let's fund full-time transportation so that because our district has to pick up, local taxpayers pick up bus transportation. That's why a lot of times your academic or your local sports teams will have to fundraise just to get a bus ride somewhere. Kindergarten is not funded. It's only funded part-time. So let's fund those things and then look at what the private schools need. Because honestly, if you're going to a private school, you probably have some money to be able, that's a choice that your parents have made. So I really feel like we need to fund what our public schools need, because that's what the Constitution says to do. And those are your students who really do need those things. So I'm not a fan of 563, in case you can't tell.
Okay.
So I'm really hopeful that we will not have an override of that veto. I completely agree with that veto, and I hope we see some legislators make some good choices.
Would you see it impacting our district that much?
You know, I really don't. The biggest impact that I see with us is we do have a couple of boundaries that are pretty tight, but honestly, I think most people are pretty happy being here, and we already do intertwine and accept students back and forth. You probably know a student from another district that drives in, and you probably know a student who lives here that drives out. So we already kind of have a form of choice. Really, a lot of our restrictions are just because it was getting so out of hand. Right now, I don't think it'll be that big of a deal for us. I would really like to see them fund kindergarten. That would be more important to us. So, have you guys heard about 128?
No.
Have you asked about that?
Oh, wait. Is that the one where you can repeat a grade?
It's the do-over bill, and that's where you can repeat a grade. So if you are not feeling like you got the most out of this year, or your parents think, oh, I'd like my child to do kindergarten again this year because virtual kindergarten, that was tough, you know? So they can actually petition and have that repeat year. So, and it won't affect your eligibility with sports and things like that. Unless you're 19 before August 1st. Then it kind of kicks you out. So seniors can actually choose to come back for another year if they want, which could get really messy.
Do you think that most of the seniors are going to do that, or do you think they're just going to continue on?
I have no idea. I know what I would do if I was a senior.
I would just go on.
Me too.
I would just go on.
I've got to be honest. If you already have your college planned and you feel successful and that you had, you know, all the classes you needed, I can see why you would not repeat your year. Makes total sense to me. But it's just an option. If you had a lot of classes you failed or did not do well with virtual, it might be something a parent wants you to do.
So next year, I know that you said that we're going to be keeping the hybrid, or not the hybrid, but the out-of-school class,
Virtual?
the virtual learning.
Yes.
Would there be like a way for some kids that attend in person to take classes that are virtual if they can't line up their schedule the right way?
Absolutely, and I'm really excited about that prospect. We are going to have what's called an Edgenuity Lab. So if any parents are out there listening to this, in case your student doesn't tell you, if there's a certain class that your child wants to take that's online, they can do that in an Edgenuity Lab. It's almost like the old-timey, I'm telling my age here, there used to be something called study hall where you did like an independent study. So there will be a teacher running the lab, and you go to the lab, you work on your online coursework. So let's say you really needed, you wanted to take Spanish, but the Spanish 2 that you needed was during the time Spanish 1 was offered. Well, you could go online and take your Spanish 2 during whatever flex period you wanted, and then still fit in your welding or your GCHS TV or whatever course you were trying to fit in. So it'll help with electives.
Will those be taught by the same teacher at the high school, or will it be taught by a remote teacher?
It will be remote.
Okay.
It'll be remote.
All right. Carolyn?
Did I answer everything? No?
Do you have anything to say?
I am so pleased with the fact that you guys have just started up with this, and you've done so well. I'm really impressed. I can remember when we first started this a year ago, a couple of you were around for that, and it's just running super smooth. So for just getting back into school, kudos to you guys. You've really taken it on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That'll do it for this week's edition of GCHS TV's Sit Down with the Superintendent. For GCHS TV, I'm Aaron Barker.
For Aaron Barker and Superintendent Moracy, I'm Carolyn Atkins. Have a great weekend.